So performance seems to be a common theme in pretty much wherever we go. Climb some ladder of supremacy in that system that we are a part of, and amongst all the other things that we are doing, what are we also doing? Between fitting in, trying to edge out others and get some supremacy, or justify your own existence, these masks help us with how we present ourselves in the daily life. Invitation to you, if you have an identity crisis, is to really access some good literature, some good material. So these are more innocent types, the identity crisis, insecurity, adaptation, image dependence. These are all sort of inner phenomena. In this modern material world, all of us are trying to get ahead and survive in life. Some of us go a step further from surviving to thriving. But for most people, a very common thing observed is masks that we wear. And why do we wear these masks? Pretty much for the same reason, that is surviving this life and its expectations. Modern life, this material life, has a lot of expectations. Some which we have built on ourselves, some which others have placed on us. Some are the expectations of the systems, which is the family, the organization, and other institutions that we are a part of. To that extent, we even have spiritual expectations these days of people. So you're a part of a spiritual organization, or working with somebody to learn some spiritual techniques, etc. There is no respite. So performance seems to be a common theme in pretty much wherever we go. And in that space, what are we doing to survive? A lot of things, but one of the prominent things that's noticed and that is interfering with our identity is the masks that we wear. So some of us are trying to fit in with those masks. And this literally is to say that there is a bunch of rules and rule makers who we want to make happy so that we are accepted and not abandoned. Some of us are really trying to be the leaders in the system. So instead of fitting in, what we are trying to do is edge out some leader, climb some ladder of supremacy in that system that we are a part of. And amongst all the other things that we are doing, what are we also doing? Wearing masks to do that. Pretending, bringing an aura of power, or bringing a certain demeanor which is respected in that system, calling the shots, getting the things done, whereas inside of you that may not be the real you. So that's the second reason, or the second utility that we find for the masks that we wear. First one, fitting in. The second one, to really reach that supremacy and edge out somebody else. The third one that many of us do is just basically to justify our existence. It is a set of masks that we wear so that we go on, whether unnoticed or noticed in some normal senses, but that whoever we are with, wherever we are, they just recognize that we exist and we are there. So some of this could be playing along with them. Some of this could be finding some utility for others and getting around and being useful in those situations, etc. The difference between the first one, which is fitting in, and the third one is a lot to do with your own significant self-doubt. The first one, you may or may not have a self-doubt, but you're largely trying to be a part of the system and be accepted. Here, your self itself is a crisis within you. That's the big difference between the first and the third. So between fitting in, trying to edge out others and get some supremacy, or justify your own existence, these masks help us with how we present ourselves in the daily life and how we are dealing with and working around things. But remember, your masks can buy you an entry pass, but the masks may or may not help you succeed. Even if they help you succeed, your masks are not going to be there as a permanent aspect of who you are and help you out with every situation. At some point in time, the mask will become redundant and you'll have to invest a significant amount of energy to recreate or find another mask which will help you with the new reality or the new situation. As a result, a lot of energy is going not only in managing your own self and the environment. A lot of energy is wasted in managing that false or pseudo-identity. Very difficult place to be in. Many of us don't realize this. However, for some who have felt the pressure, they have felt the burnout, frustration, etc. So masks in general are not a good thing to live with. Your authenticity is what is valued. There came a time about 20, 30 years back, concepts like charisma and executive presence and so many things were spoken about, and you were encouraged to fake it till you make it. It's in that era of 70s, 80s and 90s, this whole phenomena of masks which caught up, and then it became a part of who we were and our society and the place we were. Did masks not exist before that? They always have. For as long as we have existed as humans, they have existed, but it's just that the commercial world tended to have popularized it a little bit and brought it in vogue in that era that I was talking about, the 70s, 80s and 90s, where external charisma and several other features were spoken about as the aspect of a powerful personality. Any which way, if you do find yourselves wearing masks, it's better to find authenticity and not really stick with those masks. Now, why do we take to these masks? 6 broad factors which help us. I'll start with identity crisis. Remember the third utility that we find for mask, which is justifying our own self, and that comes from here, identity crisis. So many people, they're basically just collecting roles in life. Sometimes they are a child, then they are a student, then they are something, then they are a manager, then they are maybe a spouse or a parent, or for them, they move from one to another, and really the force of life, the flow of life, the pressures of life takes them from one place to another. They have done little to do any kind of self-discovery. Who am I? What do I belong to? What are my roots? What are my fundamentals? There is no boundary setting that they have done to identify this is the me, whereas this is what the world may possibly be making me do. They have not made that effort to differentiate between identity and the tasks that are being performed. So that's the first place where many people are wearing masks, identity crisis, and because of their role collecting. Invitation to you, if you have an identity crisis, is to really access some good literature, some good material, some good coaches, or work with a spiritual guru or whoever who can help you understand what is the concept of self, what is identity about, how do you really choose certain values, morals, ethics, etc., which are pillars of a character, a personality, and then stick to it. What comes naturally to you? How do you naturally think, feel, act, behave? Identify that, define that, and know that everything else that you're doing is possibly an adaptation of who you are. Those exercises are important. Today, there's a lot of self-help material that is available for you to identify and understand who you are at the inner self. Coaches and trainers and facilitators, etc., can help you do that very, very easily. Make that effort, overcome that identity crisis. Otherwise, forever in life, you will continue collecting roles, and from those roles, collecting tasks, and you will define yourselves by the tasks that you're performing, their importance, and the results that you get from there. So if you have good roles, good tasks, and good results, you will feel good about yourself. It will be sort of a pseudo-identity, but if you are stuck with a bad role, bad tasks, bad results, that will have a serious degrading impact on how you perceive your own self. So your self-perception will be like up and down, up and down, up and down, depending on your tasks. Not a good way to live. The second place where many of us choose masks is the insecurity that we have. And this is about fitting in, the first pillar, the utility of that. And because you're fearing being judged, you don't want to be yourself. You don't want to speak what you want to speak, do what you want to do. Now, the idea here is not non-adherence. It's not break with from the system, but being within the system and expressing who you are. However, some individuals have that insecurity that if they do that, they will have that fear of judgment, and hence they don't do it. Now, here, it's slightly easier than for the identity crisis people. If you are insecure about being judged, what you really need to learn is social skills. You have to master managing various situations and the roles that you have. So as a spouse, if you have a doubt of being judged, you have to learn those skills to get along. You have to develop an understanding of getting along with your partner. Same way, if you're a worker or if you're a parent or something else that you're doing is impacting your mind and you're feeling insecure about it, then you need to have that set of skills which can help you manage better. Your ability to think through, your ability to choose your behaviors, or as I say, your ability to look at your intent, behavior, and actions that will then help you overcome these insecurities. Sometimes we also are insecure about the outcomes. You also need to have the skills to manage despite outcomes, good, bad, ugly, whatever they might be. You have to learn. We all make choices in life, and we have to live the consequences and the outcomes of those choices. We have to have the skills to manage those. That's the way to manage masks if you are insecure, and that's why you're choosing masks. The third category is very interesting, and here it is about adaptations. And these are literally people who go through shape shifting. Now, remember I had said you want to get supremacy and edge out others. This belongs to that category. So what are you doing? You are constantly trying to shape shift to manage the situation, manage people, manage others, and it becomes fun. You're almost looking at, oh, how can I play the next trick on others? How can I do the next big avatar which people might follow? And invariably you want to induce some sense of thrill, charisma, etc., and work through with your situation. Much of it is done very innocently because here there is no malicious intent. Adaptation is not a malicious intent. Adaptation is, like I said, a skill for survival. But within that, you are not surviving using skills, but you're surviving using masks. So if you are addicted to this, you again have to do what people in identity crisis really have. I was recommending to them. You have to find out who you are really at the core, your core values, your core identity. And then you have to see, with the phases of life that you are in, with the work that you need to do in your life, how can you then identify and expand yourself so that your adaptation comes naturally to you and you're really not doing a rootless shape shifting to just get by in that situation. Don't be the chameleon and trying to adapt its colors to just fit into the situation. Be like that plant which has grown a real adaptation, and it's a part of its identity and who it is. So evolve, that's the message, instead of just adaptations. The fourth category of why we are doing things to wear masks is really image dependence. And again, image dependence is about you trying to fit in, and sometimes it's also about you trying to justify your own existence. And this happens with people who have developed an aura about themselves. They are called the good boy, the good boss, the charming negotiator, and etc., etc. And the world confers titles on you. As much as the world confers roles on you, it also puts you on a pedestal. And then once you've been put on a pedestal, people who have image dependence find it very, very difficult to get off that pedestal. So it becomes a preoccupation for them. So that pedestal is where they want to be, and their image dependence is then either going to make them try to fit in, or it's going to try and justify their own selves, and they'll carry that on. Best done to come out with a image makeover completely. Do an image makeover and announce to everybody that this is the real you, but that image makeover has to actually be an identification and declaration. And if you have some gaps in that identity which is going to be contrary to your work, then fix those gaps in a positive, constructive way, rather than choosing to live with masks and live with certain perceptions and adaptations. So that's for the image dependent people. So these are more innocent types, the identity crisis, insecurity, adaptation, image dependence. These are all sort of inner phenomena that is taking us or making us wear masks. There, however, is a dangerous category, which is the manipulation-oriented people who use masks to manipulate others. And this explicitly falls into the second category which I was talking, which is trying to find supremacy over others and edge them over so that you become the leader, become the winner. Here it is about power and control. So if you're somebody addicted to power and control, you possibly then need a little bit of intervention from somebody who's trained to help you maneuver and heal. Highly likely there is something in you that requires healing, some void that requires filling, some perception that requires changing, some belief systems that needs redoing, some missing value systems that require fixing. This needs to be skillfully identified by a professional. You need a coach, you need a counselor, you need a therapist who can help you get out of this. Possibly even a spiritual counselor, somebody who's a dharmic guru or someone who can help you get over. But that tendency of manipulation is something that you need to precisely diagnose what it is, where it is coming from, why it's there, and how is it that you're playing it out. It's only with all of those answers that if you're a manipulation oriented mask wearer, that you can find the final healing and freedom from it. So seek help, and get there. The last one that I would want to leave with you is the peacekeepers. And these people are wearing masks basically just to keep peace in their environment. and this one is coming from a lot of trauma that you have possibly seen in life, where being your own self may cause challenges. So you're again trying to fit in or justify your existence, and you're trying to play the peacekeeper. Again, this one is very damaging on the inside. As much as manipulation is very damaging on the outside, the peacekeeping is very damaging on the inside. So again, learn to express yourself in a positive way. That's what you need to be doing. All in all, for all these 6 categories, you need to understand that authenticity is the only way to be, because authenticity is the only one that is going to bring you lasting peace. Authenticity is the only thing that is going to help you be skillful and able enough to work with all the situations. So reflect on what I have shared in this video. Work through with this. If you are someone who has an identity crisis, insecurity, adaptation, or image dependence, then work to acquire the right kind of skills and fit in, do a makeover, and announce yourselves as authentic to the world. If you are in a space of manipulation, or if you are in a space of peacekeeping, then you will need to heal deeply. Manipulation is externally harmful. Peacekeeping is internally harmful. You need to do something to heal, and thereafter then grow your personality and do whatever you do. Authenticity is the way to go. Wish you the very best in your transformation. Be authentic, be peaceful in life. Because if you are authentic, you don't need to lie to keep up that false identity. Lies will only help you as long as the masks are useful. At some point in time, the masks will become redundant and your lies could get caught, or you'll have to manufacture a new set of life or a new set of masks and new set of identity. Not the way to live. Be authentic, be genuine, be peaceful.